Thanks, El. And in the cricket, Australia at stumps on day 2, 3 for 264, a lead of 90 runs. Sean Marsh is on 83, 87, I should say, Sean Marsh. So he's got to sit on the Devils number overnight. And Mike Hussey's 76. That's when bad light and a little bit of rain might have stopped play as well. At the MCG, it's Geelong over Hawthorn by 12.7244 to the Hawks 4.832. In the NRL tonight, it's in the second half. The Dragons 12 leading the Tigers 6. They're in the final series as well. More to come from the MCG with David Parkin and Peter Schwab after the latest from the ABC Newsroom with Jim Graham.
Thanks, Gerard. The Shadow Attorney-General George Brandis has referred new allegations against the Labor MP Craig Thomson to police. Eliza Borrello reports from Parliament House.
The allegations relate to Mr Thompson's time at the Health Services Union. Fairfax reports the owner of a printing company that produced the union's newsletter issued credit cards to Mr Thompson and another official, Michael Williamson. Mr Williamson has rejected the claims and Mr Thompson won't comment. Senator Brandis has told Sky News he believes Mr Thompson is in breach of the New South Wales Crimes Act.
Concerning the corrupt conferral of benefits.
The Labor frontbencher Anthony Albanese says politicians shouldn't act like quasi-police.
I would have thought it's up to the police to determine what they do.
Mr Thompson continues to deny allegations he used his union credit card to pay prostitutes. Eliza Borrello, ABC News, Canberra.
The Federal Attorney-General Robert McClellan says there'll be intense discussion within the ALP about what kind of border protection policy to introduce. Australia's immigration policy is unclear after the High Court scuttled the Malaysia asylum seeker deal. The ABC understands Labor's new policy will be taken to Cabinet on Monday morning before going to a special caucus meeting. Some in Labor's left faction want offshore processing abolished. Mr McClellan admits it's a difficult area.
I think the public would expect there'll be an issue of debate and there'll be arguments of substance put both ways. So I don't want to preempt that, but clearly there will be intense discussion and indeed debate about the matter.
Representatives from Pacific Island countries meeting in New Zealand are pushing for improvements to how international aid is delivered to the region. The ABC's Simon Cullen reports from Auckland.
One of the big issues for small Pacific Island nations is being able to access foreign development aid, with some leaders complaining the process is often too complex. The issue dominated today's post-forum talks at the Pacific Islands Forum in Auckland. New Zealand's Prime Minister John Key says all countries agree the situation needs to be improved.
We need to make it easier for these countries to access funds because they don't always have the infrastructure that a developed country has.
Most leaders are now staying on in Auckland for the start of the Rugby World Cup. Simon Cullen, ABC News, Auckland.
New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg has confirmed there's a specific credible terrorism threat coinciding with the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. American news networks are reporting a search is underway for 2 or 3 suspects. One of them is a US citizen who could have entered the country last month. Mr. Bloomberg says security will be tightened on bridges, in tunnels and on public transport across New York. He says the threat has to be taken seriously.
Tonight, federal authorities have announced that they've received credible information that terrorists may be plotting an attack in the coming days. The best thing that we can do to fight terror is to refuse to be intimidated by it.
An Australian economist says he's doubtful whether the American economy can afford the latest stimulus measure unveiled by the President Barack Obama. Mr. Obama plans to spend more than $400 billion to boost employment and productivity. Stephen Hallmark of Colonial First State Global Assets says the stimulus plan will make it harder to cut America's substantial debt, which may worry markets in the long term.
But you can't keep racking up deficits of the size that the US Treasury has forever. And as I said, the market will be looking for a pretty substantial reduction in that US budget deficit in the years ahead. So they actually have to find $1.5 trillion of savings over the next 10 years as part of the debt ceiling deal.
The Tasmanian government has finalised a revised offer to Gunns for retiring its residual rights to public native forests. The timber company rejected the government's original undisclosed offer on Monday. The Premier's office has issued a statement tonight saying the revised offer also aims to resolve a debt dispute involving Gunns and Forestry Tasmania. The Liberal Senator Mary Jo Fisher has told a South Australian court her depression was her dark secret, and she hit rock bottom when she allegedly stole groceries from a supermarket. Details from Candice Marcus.
The South Australian senator took the stand to testify that she was suffering from chronic depression and anxiety attacks when she allegedly stole more than $90 worth of groceries and allegedly assaulted a security officer. She said she wasn't thinking clearly when she entered the supermarket and was physically overwhelmed when she got to the checkout and was concentrating on getting to her car so she could calm herself down. She became emotional at times during her evidence and cried. She told the court she hadn't told anyone aside from her family of her depression until she told police that she was taking antidepressants. She denied pushing the security guard, saying she needed to get into her car for some personal space.
And a gene responsible for chronic pain has been identified, with scientists saying this could lead to drugs for treating long-lasting back pain, arthritis and headaches. Writing in the journal Science, University of Cambridge researchers say they've removed the HCN2 gene from pain-sensitive nerves in mice. They say deleting the gene stopped chronic pain, but did not affect acute pain. That's the latest in ABC News.